Am I the asshole for telling my ex I don't care that his grandma died? So I have been thinking about these events and wondering if I'm the bad guy here for what I said. I and my ex, we'll call him Duane, were married for 4.5 years after dating for 2 years. We dated all through college, and after we both graduated with our associate's degrees, he proposed and we got married. I was 21 when we got married and was absolutely a people-pleasing doormat and was incredibly naive. There were so many red flags that I never noticed and that my friends and family never mentioned until after things fell apart that I could make several posts about, but I'll be sticking to what is relevant to the story. Duane and I were never good with finances, but my ex especially. He lived his financial life with the motto, anything can be on a payment plan if you put it on a credit card. Which is exactly what he did. If he wanted a tool or game console or TV or anything else that we couldn't afford, he would put it on the credit card. He was in the military, and since I had good credit, thanks to my mom helping me build it while I was growing up, we had a pretty high credit limit despite having a very low income. As a result, we built up some credit card debt pretty quickly. Started out pretty slow and manageable, but got more out of hand the longer we were married. Around year 3 of our marriage, he was reassigned and we bought a house at our new assigned location. Now that we had a home and more space, the spending increased pretty quickly. He started feeling guilty for spending so much money, so he started surprising me with shopping sprees and telling me that I needed to spend the same amount he did so that we would be even. If I didn't or wasn't willing to spend the money, then he would do it for me or pressure me into it. I was told that the only way he would feel like he could have anything he wanted is if I spent the same amount of money, and if I didn't, then he would just stop buying things for himself and wouldn't be happy. My people-pleasing self, of course, caved so that he could be happy. I managed our finances anyway, so I knew where to cut back so that he could continue to spend and do what he wanted. I cut back on groceries and often went without food because we only had enough for one person, got a job teaching piano, and also took artwork commissions to supplement our income so we could afford to pay our credit card and other bills. I ended up taking on more and more when he wanted to purchase a brand new truck. Used wasn't an option, and when I realized that the housing market was starting to shift to a buyer's market and that if we were reassigned and needed to move, we would be upside down in the house. Things started getting more tense in year 4 as he got into a certain video game that had loot crates. These were items in game that you would purchase with real money that would give you specific things in the game that couldn't be obtained any other way: character skins, armor, mounts, materials, etc. It was a lottery-style gamble, and he got addicted. He was soon spending hundreds of dollars on these loot crates weekly, and it all came to a head when he spent $1,000 on loot crates in a single night. This wasn't necessarily the straw that broke the camel's back, but it's when I woke up and realized there was a serious problem. The money spending, in addition to all the other things going on and going wrong, led to a big argument one night where he told me, "I can't make you happy and you can't make me happy." Which, in my brain, was him basically saying he's done trying for me and nothing I do will ever be enough. We decided to end things that night and called our parents to let them know what was going on. My parents and I were a bit blindsided by the whole thing, and his parents weren't surprised at all. Turns out he had been lying to his parents about me and how horrible our marriage was, while I was telling my parents how good things were despite some struggles we had. In his parents' eyes, I was the villain, and they were glad to finally get the call from him. As we went through the divorce proceedings, our relationship was actually better than it had been for months. As we went through the house to split everything, it was very amicable, and we even made jokes and had fun like we used to. I questioned him several times to make sure this is what he really wanted, and he told me that if we stayed together, he would cheat on me, and yes, it's what he wanted. I found out later he already had cheated on me anyway. As we went through the paperwork, we had to list all of our debt and who was going to be responsible for what. There was nearly $100,000 in debt, and he said that we should split the debt 50-50 since half of it was my fault. I argued that he was literally under contract and was going to have a job for the next 4 years, and I was moving back home to a very small rural town, and finding a job would be incredibly difficult, and I would have no way to pay anything until I could find a job, and that I wouldn't have spent any of that if I hadn't been pressured or coerced to do so. He saw my side and agreed that he would take all the debt and that was fair. Until he talked to his father anyway. After he had a conversation with his dad, Duane came back and said we should split the debt 40/60. I again stated I wouldn't be able to pay anything for who knows how long and repeated my arguments, and he conceded again. Then he had another conversation with his dad, and then came back and said we should split the debt 20/80. At this point, I was exhausted from going through the divorce and dealing with everything I was learning about what went on during our marriage. I was fed up and told him sure, we could split the debt 20/80 and that I would just go for alimony and he would have to pay me monthly and I would just use that money to pay off the debt, and so he'd still be paying the debt anyway and still have to deal with me until it was paid off. This of course made him furious, and he, for the 3rd time, said he'd take all the debt as long as I didn't go for alimony, which I agreed to. In addition to no alimony, I offered to completely redo the house so that he could get as much money as possible out of it, and I would take my name off of the house entirely so that he would get 100% of the sale. I also agreed that I wouldn't ask for anything to move home and that I would just walk away with $0. This seemed to smooth things over with everyone, even his dad. We agreed that, since the credit card was in my name and he just had access to the account, he would open a new credit card, transfer all the debt to that card, and then I could close out my account. This would make it a smooth, clean transfer of debt. We also both agreed not to use the card at all until everything was transferred over. I had no idea at the time that I could freeze the card so it couldn't be used, and unfortunately didn't do that. And yes, he still had access to it. After all of this, he left for a 2-week training. During this time, I was supposed to get the house ready to sell, finalize paperwork, and move all my stuff out before he got back. He gave me $300 for paint, and that was it. My dad drove 12 hours to come help me with everything, including buying materials for the house, renting a trailer, and helping me move. When he arrived, he informed me that my grandpa had passed away just the night before. I was really close with my grandpa and spent a lot of time with him growing up, and I was devastated. What made it even worse was my grandma loved Duane. Grandpa always wanted to serve in the military but wasn't able to, and he loved to tell people about his grandson-in-law who was in the military. Because of this, we never told him that I was getting divorced or anything that was going on so as not to worry him while he was sick. On top of everything else happening, this was especially difficult news to get. I told Duane what was going on and asked for more time to get everything done so I could attend the funeral, and he reiterated that I needed to be gone and have everything done before he got back, and that I would just have to skip the funeral if I couldn't do it all. He said I agreed in writing to have everything done by then, and I needed to uphold that agreement. I called in some favors from friends and got some extra help with the house so we could get everything fixed up, painted, packed, paperwork filed, and the moving truck loaded in time to make it back for the funeral. We ended up getting everything completed successfully within the week and making it back the night before, and I was able to attend the funeral with my family. After the funeral was over and I was finally getting settled into my parents' house and looking for jobs, I noticed a while later that not only had the debt not been moved, but the card was being used. I called Duane and asked what was going on, and he of course had some excuse as to why he needed to use the card and would be getting everything transferred the following week. I kept an eye on things and nothing happened. Then I saw even more charges on the card a week later. I called him again and was told some things came up and that he would transfer the debt that weekend. I called again the following week and was told the banks were closed that weekend and he couldn't do anything about it. I reminded him that he was legally obligated to transfer the debt per our court documents from the divorce and gave him a deadline for the following Friday. Lo and behold, just a few days later, Duane called me asking for more time because his grandmother had just passed away and the funeral was on Friday. I actually had a good relationship with his grandma and was sad to hear that she had passed and gave him my condolences. I also reminded him that when my grandfather passed away, I received no help, no extra time, and didn't even get an "I'm sorry for your loss." I told him I didn't care that his grandma passed away and he still needed to transfer the debt by the deadline or I would be going to the courts. He of course was very angry, cursed at me, and called me heartless. The debt was moved the next day. So am I actually a heartless a-hole for telling my ex I didn't care that his grandma passed away? Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next story.